Some small businesses can't afford a directory listing, but they have skills and they have talent. Their talent matches the hard work and the know-how. Their workplace can be from the kitchen or a van. The business might be set up in a home or a garage. You don't find these providers listed in a book directory, but you can find them on EQICaribbean.com, the online tool you'll need to search for products and services. Because as long as you are searching, we'll be here to list them.
This is season 2 of Court in Session. In this episode, we will have an interview with a basketball scholarship winner. The Bajan Scout will be in to give us his fantasy picks. And we will have some analysis from the Bajan Avengers on the new NBA basketball season. This is Court in Session. I'm here with one of Barbados' the son of one of Barbados' top basketball players back in the 80s and 90s, Carl Thorpe Sr. I'm here with Carl Thorpe Jr. Carl, welcome. And how have you been?
I've been good, man. You?
I'm doing well. Okay, so first, tell me about your journey. How did it start? From Comamere right up to, to present day.
So from Comamere, my journey started in my time at Comamere during upper 6. It was the basketball season, and during the season, Mr. Pearson, who's associated with the local basketball, he encouraged my dad and I to make me go on a trip to New York to a showcase. So I took the trip to New York, went to the showcase, performed. There were a lot of high schools there and like boarding schools. And then after the 2 days, I returned back home to Barbados. I started receiving a lot of phone calls from high schools, prep schools. So then I finally found one that was affordable, that had a good program. So we decided to choose that. So I committed to that program, Raven Gap, the Coochie School in Georgia.
Okay, so that is the Raven Gap. And then you played how many years at Raven Gap?
I went to Raven Gap my junior year. So that'll be 2 years. I left in 2019 and I graduated from Raven Gap in 2021. So 2 years. I just did my junior year there. Okay,
so and then what happened? Because then you came back home. What happened after that? After you left Raven Gap?
After I left Raven Gap, after the season, my recruiting started. But as you know, COVID caused a lot of problems. Gave like seniors in college the opportunity to repeat their senior year, which lessened the opportunities for scholarships for incoming freshmen. So recruiting during that time was rough. But fortunately, Coach Big, as you know, he reached out and helped me with my recruiting. And Coach from Western Nebraska, me and him kept talking back and forth until I was finally awarded with a scholarship. So I committed. So after I graduated from Raven Gap, I came back home, just trained, then I left again. And here I am.
Right. So you are where right now?
I'm in Nebraska, Western Nebraska, Scottsbluff.
Okay, and you all start practicing already and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many scrimmages are there?
Yeah, we had a scrimmage last week in Colorado.
Yeah. How did it go?
We went. It was all right. My team went 3-2. Like we know bonding, gelling, so we quite haven't figured it out ourselves yet, but we get in there.
Okay, good, very good. So you're at Western Nebraska that you're telling me?
Yeah, Western Nebraska.
Yeah, you're Western Nebraska. And when is your first game again?
My first game is on November the 8th versus Northwest College.
Okay, that's very good. Okay,
yeah.
But I also want to ask you about what advice would you give any of the players back here? Because you would have come from out of our system. You went to school in Barbados. You would have gone to foundation and then sixth form at Comamere. So it is not a situation like you were living in the US and you were a Bajan that live in the US. You were a Bajan. So I want you to give any advice you have for any players coming behind you.
The advice I would give is to never give up and treat every game like it's your last game because you never know who's watching. Like I was given an opportunity to go to New York and I just played my heart out in front of a lot of coaches. And then at the end I was rewarded. So you just gotta play like it's your last game.
Okay, so you're saying play hard every single time. You don't know who's
Every
watching.
every single game.
Right. So what is your day? What your schedule look like for a normal day?
My normal day involves 2 to 3 classes. Then I have practice at 1 to 3. Then I have weights from 3 to 4, and then that's like on a regular day. But then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have individuals. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's class, then practice from 1 to 3, weights from 3 to 4, and then individual workouts from 6 to 7:30. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Carl, it was really nice seeing you and really nice interviewing you now. I wish you all the best. Of course, we in Barbados and we here at Court in Session hopes that you continue to strength from strength to strength.
Yes,
So
for sure.
you have a good day and continue to do the work.
Thanks.
Right now, we are here with the Bajan Scout, and he is Alan Pinder, and Alan is one of the top, well, I must say top, because in the last couple of the fantasy games that I competed with Alan, he was the winner. So he's well versed in fantasy basketball, and he's here to give us some insights as to who you should pick in the fantasy. So first, Alan, let me look at the guard spot. Who would you pick at the guard spot if you're in a fantasy league?
Hey, Terry. So I think we should be looking at Luka Doncic and Steph Curry at those 2 top spots. They're both coming off MVP caliber seasons, and they're going to be high utility players since there isn't a great second option behind either one of them. And they're both going to give you elite production in terms of points and assists. Luka, he's going to give you extra production as a triple-double threat. And Steph, he's going to give you those extra 3-point shots as being an elite 3-point shooter. So I think those are the top 2 guys you should be looking at the point guard spot.
And what about somebody that nobody is looking at?
Well, I think someone who might be a bit overlooked is Kemba Walker. He's coming back home. He's been down the last few years with some injuries, but being back in New York now, he says he's healthy, and he's with a coach in Tom Thibodeau who's going to give him a lot of playing time. I think he has a chance to have a bounce back season.
Okay, so that is the point guard position. What about the wings?
Well, at shooting guard, I think you have to look at James Harden as the top one here. People questioned if his style would translate in a team other than the Houston Rockets. That was essentially built around him. But in Brooklyn last year, we saw he was still playing at the elite level, and he was a serious triple-double threat most nights. Given that Kyrie is mostly going to be out for, well, who knows how long, he's going to have a lot of opportunity to really have a great season here in Brooklyn. And after James Harden, I think Bradley Beal is your next best bet. You had an elite season last year, even though he was playing next to Russ, who's a ball-dominant point guard. And he's going to have a lot more help this year, but he's still going to be the clear-cut number 1 option on that team. So he's going to give you good RO numbers and elite scoring numbers.
Okay, so then the small forward spot.
Small forward, I think, well, normally this would be easy because this normally would be Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James that you look at here. But with Kawhi being out for the year and with LeBron James being a little bit older, he's still going to be the elite option, but I would go with KD in this spot. He's the best player in the game. Same situation as with Kyrie being out. He's going to have more opportunity in Brooklyn to really shine. And he seems to be healthy. And given the amazing playoff series he's had last year, I think he should be the top guy at the small forward spot. After KD, I think Paul George is going to be the next best option.
Oh, George.
He-
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, he had a terrible year, a terrible few months in the bubble, but he had a successful redemption tour last year. He was excellent in playoffs after Kawhi went down. And with Kawhi probably being out for most of the year, he's going to have to carry a heavy load. And I think he's probably going to be up to the task.
Okay, and then who's your dark horse, so to speak?
And then Michael Porter Jr. here. He's coming off that fresh new max extension. He's an elite shooter. I think he's probably going to be the top perimeter scorer for this Denver team. They're going to be without Jamal Murray, and they're going to need his production in a serious way.
So you think he will be good in fantasy? And then we move to these forwards positions.
Power forward, I think we have to look at the champ, the MVP, well, former MVP, and the Finals MVP, and he's still in his prime, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And if that game in the preseason we saw against Utah has any indication, I think there's a good chance he may have added to his offensive toolbox. So I think he's going to have a great season. He seems to be very motivated every year he comes back. I think he wants to repeat. And he's really the most balanced option in terms of fantasy, in terms of offense and defense. He's going to give you great numbers right across the board. So if you want someone who's going to give you all those great numbers in lots of different spots, he's going to be your best choice here. After Giannis, I think just Randle, you have to take a good look at him. He had a great year last year, but I don't think it was necessarily a fluke. His production really wasn't that far off his production in the last few years. I think he should be motivated to come back even better this year, given he had a fairly poor series against the Atlanta Hawks last year in the playoffs. And again, this guy's playing for Tibbs, and Tibbs is going to give you a lot of playing time. Yes. So I think Randle is going to be a good bet right here.
Okay, and then your far-fetched person?
Dark horse. I think a lot of people have forgotten about Jaren Jackson Jr. He was injured a lot last year. He's been a good young player. He has a lot of potential. And with Valanciunas being off of the team now, I think he's going to have the chance to be the main option as their big man in terms of a big man offensive spot. I think he's going to have a good year with us concerned on a good Grizzlies team. They made the playoffs, and I think they're going to be trying to make the playoffs again this year, probably as a lower seed. So I think he's going to have a big year.
Right, and then at the big person spot, which is the center, who are your top picks there?
I think the MVP, Jokic, he has to be the guy you look at here. He gives you elite offensive production all across the board in terms of on offense, in terms of shooting percentage, 3 points, shots, assists. I think he's going to have a great year again this year, and he seems to be back in even better shape than he was even last year. So he's not going to be that great on defense though. So if you're looking for someone who's going to give you some better offensive production along with defense, Joel Embiid is probably going to be your next best option. He's going to give you those elite offensive numbers, not as good as Jokic, but he's still going to be very good, and he's going to give you those defensive stats if you require that on your team. Only problem with Embiid, is he's going to be a bit injury prone. He may not play as often as you like, but when he does play, he's going to be very good for you.
Yeah, and then your dark horse at center position.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Porzingis.
Yes, I think he has a chance for a bounce back here as well. He's playing under a new coach, Jason Kidd. He kind of had some conflicts with Rick Carlisle last year. So Kidd thinks he can revive the New York Porzingis, and I think that may be possible as well. He seems to be happier playing for Porzingis. He seems to be happier playing for Jason Kidd. So I think he's praying for a bounce back year.
Okay, so this is your first episode with the Bajan Scout. Alan Pinder, he's the man. If you want any information on your fantasy players, he's the man to talk to. So we are Court in session. Thank you, Alan, and we look forward to you for the rest of the season as we go down, see how things go in fantasy. Thank you. Right, so in this segment is In the Paint, and I'm here in the paint with what I call the two Avengers, because one man named Teron and that's my name Keelan. And I really, those sound like Avenger names. So from here on, you all are the Avengers. So we are here to talk the NBA basketball. And to take us first to the Western Conference, let me discuss the Western Conference first, because it's got real drama, so we can be there fairly long. So
Yeah.
to look at the Western Conference is my man Keelan. Keelan, what do you think happening in the Western Conference? First, I would expect that you would say that Lakers is in top in the West.
Now you got to laugh. Now I'm kidding. I actually start from the bottom and go up.
Oh, okay.
Start from the bottom and go up. So this tier that I have, right? I got them here to make a number. The reason, and I have OKC in this tier. The reason I say here to make a number, they're only here for one purpose: draft picks. Then, boy, they're winning a championship. They're doing that. They're trying to get as worse as they can, lose as much games to get another pick, and they already got 50 first round picks, or whatever the case is. So I expect them to be at the bottom of the conference. They only got
What you don't get, Keelan, is draft picks don't play.
Yeah. Like, you can have 51 draft picks, but if none of them don't end up being LeBron James or Bradley Beal or anything like that, I mean, if they end up just being like mid-tier.
Hey, draft picks are currency in the NBA. Never forget that.
Yeah, but they get no disrespect.
The currency sometimes is end up by bunch of rubbish.
I mean, currency, no disrespect to like other currencies, but I'm sure that $1 here could be 50 cents somewhere else, so currency might not be worth that much. I don't know.
Anyway, if we don't interrupt you, let me hear what's happening.
Yeah, y'all can. The next tier above them is youth movement. So I need two teams that I have in that category are the Rockets and the Spurs. So like I got like a question or like a statement associated with each team. So for the Rockets, I got like, where will John Wall go? I think that's one of the lingering questions, because John Wall is there, but he's not going to play for the team. So with that being said, they have a bunch of young players, but they also got a couple leftover veterans like Eric Gordon and maybe even a Christian Wood that doesn't fit into their timeline anymore. So there's a bunch of young guys, Jalen Green, the number 2 draft pick. They got Kevin Porter Jr., who had a decent outing at the end of the season. All kind of went down. He had some games. He had a 50-point game last season. So, John Wall, when he gets moved, that might bring him more young pieces. So, that might be something else that can help them going forward. With the Spurs now, I got who is the star. Now, with DeRozan gone, who is their main focus guy on offense? There's a bunch of young guys now, but are any of them stars? Like, you got the Jonathan Murray, Derrick White, Keldon Johnson just was on the Olympic team, but like, can you really look at any of them and say, oh, he can be an all-star? Like,
yeah, but guarantees.
Yeah, of course. I am a Spurs fan, so this is me being very objective here. So like, and also Greg Popovich, how much longer is he gonna coach? He said that he's enjoying coaching the younger guys, but he ain't a spring chicken anymore. He might eventually.
He's enjoyed coaching the other guys until you start to lose.
Yeah, telling me. So those are the two that I have for the youth movement. So they will finish, in my opinion, slightly above the Thunder. However, it will be still a good success if they do sneak in to this next category, and that's who I got the playing hopefuls, right? So at the top of the playing hopeful, the best team in this is by far, I think, the Grizzlies. They made the playoffs last year, and as the AFC, and I think they had a fairly good first round. All things considered, it was the AFC versus the Jazz, and I think Ja Morant really came into his own. He averaged about 30 against a very good defensive Jazz team, and also another thing for them is Jaren Jackson Jr. He had a tough year last year because of injury. He was out for most of the year, but he is supposed to be their second star player, like their second prospect. But he didn't have the greatest year because it was inconsistent because of injuries. So can he take that next step? And maybe that might vault them into like the secure playoffs, so I'm not necessarily to play. For the Pelicans, I got them in this tier. I got 4 teams in this tier. Was losing Lonzo up the state. Lonzo, I think, has turned in, despite, the LeVar Ball, he's Steph Curry with a 40-inch vert and this and that. I think Lonzo's actually turned into a very, very good and competent NBA player. His defense is nice, and I think he will do fairly well in Clapham. What material?
He can't start before Raheem.
Huh?
He can't start before Raheem.
Yeah, always. He can't start before Raheem. I mean, I would take any of my teammates before, but that's an NBA play at the end of the day. But I'll just say, like, was losing Lonzo a mistake? Because in my opinion, I think their team got slightly worse by losing Lonzo for Graham. So, they did get Giannis, big Val. Hopefully he could make a difference for them. Yeah, that is an upgrade. But the other 2 teams I have here are the Timberwolves, and I got Cat and D'Lo. No, in the small minutes that they play, I saw a stat where they actually did very well. Their net rating was very, very good in the limited minutes that they played. Obviously, Cat had a rough year dealing with COVID and his family and stuff like that. And then D'Lo has some injuries. But Anthony Edwards started to play really, really good coming on to the end of the year. He had a bunch of 20 and 30-point games. So it'd be interested to see now how all of them look on the court. For all we know, that could have been a fluke, and they could look terrible, and they could be in the same running as the Thunder. But at the same time, they do have one of the best big men in the league. So, I mean, they already have an advantage over the previous teams I call in like the Rockets and the Spurs, because they actually have a star. So,
correct.
Hopefully they go from there. And I have a feeling Elton may like this one because of where I may go, but I have the Kings in the bottom of the plane. The reason why you say Elton might laugh at this, right? The question I have is, can they end the drought? And the brackets I have probably not. But the reason why, if you think of every team in the West, I guarantee, right, you can think in the last 5 years, when was the last time they were good? You can remember, I think, straight off the top of your head. The last year, Lakers were good right now, the Suns, the Jazz, Warriors, Clippers, Nuggets, all those teams. You can remember even the Timberwolves, you can remember when they were good, at least for a year when I had Jimmy Butler, Thunder had KD, I think. When was the last time you remember the Kings being good?
Yeah, I think
2001, right? Or when they faced the Lakers.
I follow them. I think what's his name? The man that is the commentator now, Chris Bauer. Chris Bauer, they're playing there.
Yeah, Chris, and that was in 2000. That was the last time that the Kings were good. Even when they had DeMarcus Cousins, they were still a bad team. So that's why it's probably not. I really don't think that they will end the drought.
I mean, that to get better.
Yeah, I also another question I got is Buddy. Buddy, he was in trade rumors all last year, all at the beginning of the year. I think it will only be a matter of time before he gets moved. They recently drafted Davion Mitchell. So they got Tyrese Halliburton. He had a good rookie season last year before he got hurt. So it's only a matter of time before they move on from Buddy. And whoever picks him up, whichever team picks him up, again, a really elite shooter. Now we're done with the playing. Hopefully we'll be on to the
big boy
playoff teams for sure, if everything goes well. Because, injuries cause everything. I got the mid-tier guys / something to prove. Got 2 teams in this. Mavs and Portland. Now, the question I have for the Mavs is Kristaps really the second star? That first year in the bubble, he'd have looked like, before he got hurt, he was getting Clippers real trouble. At one point, he was saying, if he didn't get hurt, Dallas would have beat the Clippers. And then, fast forward to the next year, they were saying that if Kristaps didn't play, that the Mavs would have beat the Clippers. So it went to So it went to a complete turnaround. So obviously in Portland, the main question is Damian Lillard. I mean, the last couple of years, we know Portland gonna do one thing: make the playoffs. Probably ain't get far. Might get knocked out the first round, may get second round, you know. But
The finals once.
a conference finals once, but even so, they couldn't get past the Warriors without who just had Steph and Clay, because KD was hurt for that entire series. So it's always we know what their ceiling is. It's not a finals team. It's a good playoff team. And, you know, there's been some rumblings with Dame Lillard, you know. I know he's the type of guy that wants to stay on the team, but at the end of the day, if you're losing and you're not making much improvements, eventually you might get annoyed and you may ask. I'm not saying I ain't got no sources. I ain't one of the editors. I got multiple sources that say sources say damn God. I'm not saying anything, but that's just my outlook on it. We can on to these ones I call gap year teams. The reason I call them gap year teams is because these three have major injuries of people coming back that their range could be either mid or contenders, or this may just be a getting through year. So the three teams: the Warriors, the Clippers, and the Nuggets. So for the Clippers, I mean, there's only one person that we could talk about. If they don't have the Kawhi, they're a good team, but finals, I don't see it. Paul George did have a very good year last year. I think he redeemed himself in the public eye, because last year pandemic P was a serious thing and he get a lot of criticism, but I think he had a very good playoffs this year, all things to consider. For the Nuggets, two things: and PJ's growth. Know that Murray isn't there, he may come back around March, April, maybe around that time, give or take. But if MPJ could take that growth into that 25 points per game score, they recently gave him a bag. So you can be making 190-something mil and you only averaging 17 points per game. You got no take that next set in the averaging 25 points per game. So if you can do that,
unless they never against.
unless the name are Jamaican. But if he could take that next step, and then Murray comes back, you never know. They will have three really good offensive players. Yeah, defense has never been the strongest thing with them, but, you know, if you can outscore everybody, we got a team out east that is trying to score 140 points every game and don't care if they give up 134. He wants to get 140, that's it. And then the last team with that is, speaking of Andrew Wiggins, you got the Warriors. Klay Thompson, he's supposed to be coming back December. You know, Steph had to do a lot with this team last year, but I think they got some new pieces in terms of some of the draft picks that can maybe help them. And I think Jordan Poole, he's a guy that people should look out for. I actually think he could sneakily get 6 man a year, because if he play enough games when Klay comes back and start, you know, he's actually looked very good in preseason. And you don't know Wiseman. Yeah, he's a young big, but does he really fit with this team, and does he timeline match up? Kyrie's 30-something. Wiseman is 27. We can't wait on Wiseman to get good, and then Kyrie's 40. So something gonna happen. And then we on to the really, really big boys. Like I said, out team for last. Because I know he want me to talk about them. The Jazz. This is one of the teams in there. Can they adjust in the playoffs? Right now, it's looking like the Jazz is just a great regular season team. They do well anything, but when they bought the Clippers, they kind of adjust to the Clippers playing small. So can they make that adjustment in the playoffs, where even if it means you got sick or Rudy Gobert for just a matchup thing? Because Tyloo had no problem sitting his big man when he realized that it causing problems on the defensive end. They were small, Gobert can't contest on the 3-point line. That's it. So can they adjust in the playoffs, or are they just a good regular season team? The Suns. Now, somebody will say you can only play who's in front of you. Another person may say, well, the Suns got fairly lucky because Kawhi got hurt. The Nuggets didn't have Murray, and AD went down for the Lakers. So I think the question is, was it a fluke? Was that a one-off year and they did really well? Or, is this an actual thing? I think the only way they can really get better, they recently re-signed Chris Paul, is Aiden and Mikal Bridges. They're the young players on the team. Yeah, who they don't want to pay for some reason.
Crazy.
If they could take that growth, that next step. And finally, where I think they got the most drama in the West, the Lakers. Because, once you got LeBron on the team, they always got to have some sort of drama. Some sort of drama with the
drama or age?
Huh?
Did you say drama or age?
Age drama. That's all I can say. Age drama.
Well, it could be a retirement home, really, but
the thing is, right, they have a lot of big names, but I say those big names would be even better if it was 2010 or 2012, because that's when most of them were in their prime. What they have to hope is that those big names don't hit their wall, because they are fairly old. So it could eventually be that time. Matt Kellerman has always talked about the cliff that Tom Brady gonna fall off, and he never fall off it yet. But injuries could also play a factor with them being an older team. But we all know what the main question with the Lakers is. Russell Westbrook. Does he fit into this team? Right? Me personally, I think that they're going to win a lot of games in the regular season. I do. Playoffs, on the other hand, I think this is where they may struggle. I can let El also talk about it because he's a Laker guy, so I want to see what he thinks about the team, because in my opinion, when you have a team in the playoffs, 90% of the teams that make the playoffs are good teams, especially when you get later on in your run. So you have good teams planning for you. 7 straight games. That spacing with AD, Braun, and Westbrook, I think it might be a little tough. Naturally, you may want to stagger, have Braun on when Westbrook is off and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you want all 3 of them on at the same time. And when you have the worst 3-point shooter in NBA history, who takes more 3-point shots in the playoffs, this is not the 60s. We don't have the spacing with the 3-point lines.
That was his team. This is Lakers. He's not going to be taking those shots unless he's going to have a gun on the edge of the bench. So,
Will Frank Vogel bench him though? You really think so?
Every team is his team.
If he starts to really shoot the breaks that he accustomed, I think LeBron will
cross that ball
ask him to go to the edge of the bench.
Philando, I would warn you to be careful how you talk about Raheem's team.
Right. So
Lakers, kissing about Raheem's team.
So that's Lakers, and that is the Western Conference. The Western Conference is a really interesting conference, but the interesting.
Let me get some popcorn. Let me sit right here and just.
As you said, Teron, I noticed that you're a Heat fan, but apart from being a Heat fan, can you tell me in the East? I don't want you to start all down by those also runs, because also ran, you have been horse racing, right? When you go to horse racing, you see who come first, who come second, who come third, who come fourth, and then they say also ran was. Right? So being low, you look at also ran. So I want to start in mid-table. Who in your mid-table in the East?
My mid-table. All right, so we're talking about the mid-tier. I'm actually going to start with the tier right. So I'm going to use Keelan's format. You're funny. You're very funny. I'm going to use Keelan's format and talk about the play-in hopefuls. I had a bit of a problem trying to figure out who were playing hopefuls in the East, because I think you're either good or bad in the East. And there are a lot more good teams in the East now, but the ones that are bad are really bad. Like, I'd say the playing hopefuls are Raptors and the Cavs. That's exactly bad. They're bad, And there's one that is kind of teetering on the scale of, are you a mid-tier or are you a playing hopeful? I would say no one knows what's going to happen with the Wizards. Will they just go back to being bad, or did Russell Westbrook do something or have one like changing conversation with Bradley Beal that turns him into a complete monster to the point where he can carry an entire franchise into at least the playoffs. We don't know. What I'm going to say is that Bradley Beal is a very good player. Wizards are a very bad franchise. All right, so we'll see what happens there. When you get to the middle of the table, however, the tier right below that, the for sure mid tiers, we have to start with a team that had, in my opinion, just as good an offseason as my Miami Heat. We have to talk about the Bulls. By the time we start talking about that mid tier, we have to talk about the Bulls. I think
you put Bulls in the mid tier.
Cobham or
Chicago.
no Bulls, talking Bulls.
okay. I just make it.
Yeah, big time. But the Chicago Bulls, I think they lead the mid tier, and the reason I say that is because even though they have had a great offseason, if you look at that roster, there's no one on that roster that has won anything, really. And not even like Eastern Conference Finals. And I believe that's going to play that's going to have an impact on how they go through the season. I believe Billy Donovan's a good coach, but that team has a lot of young guys, and I feel like fingers can start being pointed. And when you talk about accountability, that team can implode very easily. That's why I put them in the mid tier. I don't believe they have that veteran guy that's saying, let's keep our heads on, let's keep pushing forward when the good times turn bad. I think they're going to start hot. I think they're going to have good times. But as I was telling one of my friends who's a Bulls fan recently, I think that they need a leader, a veteran. Udonis has them tight.
Of course, he goes with a Heat fan, with a Heat player. Of course, he goes with a Heat player. Whoa.
That's the Miami bias guy. I have the Suns of the East, that team that really shocked everyone last year with how well they did, and I believe that they're going to suck this year, and that is the New York Knicks. I believe the Knicks caught everyone off guard, and what their plan is, and I've seen the Heat do this before. Their plan is we're not good on offense, so we're great on defense, and our coach is a defensive specialist. We're going to bring you down to our level, and we're going to bully you, right? So I think the Knicks. I don't think that's going to work. I think people have recorded enough film on the Knicks to score on them. I think that their average score that they hold opponents to is going to rise this year, I believe. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year, even though I think they did get a little better offensively. They have Kemba Walker now, but Kemba hurts their defense. So you've basically given up defense for a little more offense. Derrick Rose is still Derrick Rose. RJ Barrett, if he takes a step forward, I believe that he has the potential to be someone that drives them forward. So this is all this is hypothetical. They could pretty much come out and just shut down every team in the league and hold them to 80 points every single game again. But I just don't see it happening. I think they're going to be a lesser team this year. All right. And the last team we're going to put in that mid tier is going to be a lot of people have messaged me and telling me about this, but I'm going to put the Charlotte Hornets in there. I believe that when healthy, and I'm going to put that in bold caps lock. When healthy, that team can be very scary. In terms of their pace, they have an exciting player in LaMelo Ball who can keep the pace going and get everyone involved, move the ball around. I believe that Gordon Hayward may be their X factor to their success because that man is cold-blooded. He's a killer. That man is a straight-up killer, but he just can't stay healthy. And I believe that if he stays healthy and that team builds their chemistry, the pieces that they have, they can make some noise. But again, this is a mid-tier class. I don't think that they're gonna I don't think they get to none of these teams get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't believe that. The closest one would be the Bulls if they fix their problems. And my mistake, there is one more team in this category. I would put Boston in there as well. And my reasoning for that is
that one's late now.
Not Boston. It could be very tough. But realistically, they were bad last year. They didn't change up the team that much, really and truly. they got rid of Kemba Walker, who was a defensive liability, yes, which we talked about earlier. But now they don't have a true point guard. They're close to think the true point guard is Dennis Schroeder, who just signed their. I don't want to really talk about his shortcomings. To be honest, he's a madman. But they don't really have any. They're starting Marcus Smart in the preseason. I don't think that's gonna pan out when we talk about going 82 games.
I hope so. He on my fantasy team.
I know you picked the picking, but that's not important. I don't think Marcus Smart is a true point guard. We'll see if that matters. If their new coach, they have a new coach. That can always, be basically that can make them an underdog. We don't know what that coach will bring to the table. He could be the worst coach in the league. He could be a coach that was so good as an assistant and just turn out to suck like Sacramento's coach, or he could just bust through the gates and be a star like Eric Spoelstra. No bias intended.
Of course. Oh, look, another Heat reference. Why am I not surprised?
We're going to go to the gap year teams. I really only have one true gap year team, and with the way Keelan explained it, I'm going to put the Pacers in there. The Pacers' biggest problem is that
never healthy.
They cannot stay healthy. Even as we speak, their better players are all injured, and I mean all of them. If that team is healthy, that team is going to cause noise in the Eastern Conference. They could easily be right under those top tiers, those contenders. They could easily slip in right under them. I think that at their best, they are on the same level as or above the Bulls. I think that they're right ahead of the mid-tier F when healthy. I'm going to put a subcategory here, and I'm going to be very realistic in talking about the one, the only, the Biscayne Bullies, the South Beach Bad Boys, the Miami Heat. The reason I put them as a sub-mid gap year team is because I believe they just came off a finals run in 2020, and then they sucked in 2021. My biggest thing is that they put their all into trading for Victor Oladipo, and then he gets hurt again. I don't believe that series goes the way. And then we get the eventual champions in the first round. That's just unfortunate, to be honest. Not only does Victor go down, who is our only real change since 2020, yeah, big L. And then we have to play the Bucks who have Giannis. And they have PJ Tucker, someone who slowed down Jimmy Butler, to be honest. And Bam Adebayo just been missing for the entire series. Goran Dragic was our top scorer, just as he was in the 2020 finals run before getting hurt, and we had nothing else. Right now, I think that after that year of being disgustingly bad, we had the best offseason in the NBA, in my opinion. I believe that the only thing Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo needed was a true point guard. Someone to get them the ball so they didn't have to get everyone else the ball. They are no scoring options instead of facilitators and only being facilitators. I think that, and the fact that we added PJ Tucker is an underrated signing. That man, he is one of the few men that will run around with Kevin Durant an entire playoff series. He's not going to stop him at all. He's not going to.
No one can, to be honest.
All he does is make Durant take tougher shots, and instead of scoring within the first 2 seconds of the shot clock, he'll score maybe within the last 2 seconds of the shot clock. But all that matters in terms of winning a championship, getting past that three-headed monster.
Not to cut you off quick there, but you remember when you said that the Warriors could have not the NBA Warriors, that the BBA Warriors, they couldn't guard anybody if they had a gun kind of thing. Well, I think you need a gun in order to mark KD. I think that's the only way that you can mark KD. You need an actual gun.
I think the moves that he made are they filled their holes perfectly this offseason. But I think the biggest thing for them is that Eric Spoelstra, who in my opinion is a star coach, which you don't have many of those in the league, he has more versatility in his roster, in his lineups, right? So there's a lot he can do. like I said, that was a subcategory between the top tier and the gap year teams. Now we get to the top 3 teams. We're gonna start with the one that, it should be on TMZ. It probably is at this point. We're gonna talk about the 76ers. They came from being the first seed in the East and running the Eastern Conference for a good stretch to total drama island. I have no idea how. First thing, where is Ben Simmons going? Is he staying? Is he not staying? If he stays, will it still look the same? If he looks the same, is that enough? Like, there's so many questions to be asked about the 76ers. They haven't really made many changes besides changing Dwight Harden to Andre Drummond, which is basically the same thing, to be honest. And they ran the East last year, though, so we'll see what happens there. I'm not sure what to think about Ben Simmons' situation. He went bad at work, so he doesn't get fined anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, because when he realized that paycheck started to hit, he realized when that money started to get taken off, he was like, hey, wait, hold on, wait. Y'all got actually fined me for not coming work? I gotta go work.
Grandmother's calling their boys. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's slightly different. He went back to the 76ers to raise his trade value, really. Because last time he played, they were getting beat up by Atlanta. So and he really sucked that in that series.
Yeah, he
did. Really and truly, what he's trying to do now is to raise his trade value, and then so that San Francisco could get something for him. But I think Daryl Morey want a little bit too much for him. Because he really is not that good. He's just a ordinary player that tall, right? He needs to improve his shooting and and core awareness and general basketball to prove to me that he's a top tier guy. But right now, he's just like another player. We will leave it at that.
Player.
I don't want you to stop there, Teron. You tell me your last two because we got some other stuff.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. We're from Total Drama, and we're going to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks are the defending NBA champions. They steamrolled my Miami Heat, and then they went to 7 games against the Brooklyn Nets. The thing for me is that I think the reason, and I talked about this with Miami, the reason they were able to get past the Nets is because PJ Tucker was making Kevin Durant work so hard, and the fact that little foreshadowing here, and the fact that Kyrie Irving was not there, right? He was hurt, and James Harden was a little bit. James Harden was a little bit hobbled as well. So it was basically KD versus the Bucks, and in my opinion, losing PJ Tucker is a huge mistake on the Milwaukee's part. They replaced him with a guy from Boston, Semi Ojeleye. Although he is a good defender, he's not PJ Tucker. And I just don't know what to think. Like, they're just like 76ers in a way. They stood pat. I mean, they won. They're a very good team and they won. You don't really change up much from championship rosters, that is true. You try not to change too much, but you got worse. Usually when you try not to change too much, well, you can't say that Dante DiVincenzo did not play in the finals, I don't think. And they're getting him back. They're getting him back. So they do get that. But that's not improvement because he was already on the team. Him and Drew Holiday are a problem in the backcourt, yes. Chris Milton, if he plays the same caliber he was playing in the finals, that's the best I've ever seen him play in his life. I didn't even know he was that good. I really thought he wasn't actually. I thought he was bad. I thought he was really overrated. But he's still there. They still have Giannis. To me, I feel as though Brook does not last the end of the year with them. I think that they're going to move on from Brook eventually. Especially if they get off to a rough start. I feel like by trade deadline, he's gone. Because there were some rumors about it in the offseason. And actually, even before the last trade deadline, just because he's just so slow. And he although he's a great, not great, let me not use the word great. He's a pretty good rim protector, and he does stretch the floor well when his shot is on. It's just an outdated version of Windows. Like, you need to update your system. It doesn't, like, if you want to go forward in the NBA, you need to get someone else playing next to Giannis, or do like the Lakers are doing this year and have Giannis play at the 5 and get a decent 4 to play next to him. That would open up their versatility a lot, in my opinion.
But they actually do that sometimes. They
Right,
actually
that all the time. That's my point. I think or maybe bring Brook off the bench at least. Bring him off the bench and start Giannis at 5, and then get.
Or they can run Bobby Portis too a lot more because they re-signed him.
I don't want to talk about Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis, I can't take him seriously, to be honest. I've been told to resemble him, and that's the best thing that's happened. That's one of the best things that's happening in his life next to that championship. Other than that, I don't know. They could try that, switch around, but then that hurts your bench because he's actually a nice little spark off the bench. I don't think he's starting material, in my opinion, to be honest. I believe that Brook is either going to get moved to the bench or to a different team. But the Bucks, we'll see what happens. Who knows? In my opinion, I do not see a lot of people have the Lakers on top of the NBA world. Let me just say, before I call this next team's name, I do not get it. I don't understand, right? I believe the best team in the NBA right now, on paper, is the Brooklyn Nets. And I believe that they are the title favorites. I believe that when healthy, and I'm going to let that sink in, when healthy, they are pretty unstoppable when everything is clicking as well. Obviously, the elephant in the room with them is their
shooting guard.
Point guard. They man, everywhere he goes, he just brings problems with him. I don't know why this man, and it's so unfortunate because he's just so gifted as a basketball player. I mean, it's for a good cause, yes, but you're a hooper. Hoop, my guy. Like just go there and hoop. You don't need to, you know what I mean? You can have a voice. You have a bigger voice if you're playing. That's what he needs to understand. I'm talking about Kyrie Irving. Is Kyrie Irving going to remain a net? If he doesn't, are they going to get anything for him? Because does another team want that drama? I'm pretty sure some stupid gem is going to take him. If he just doesn't play, or if he retires, I think he said he wasn't going to retire. But if he does retire, or just stays on the team and doesn't play, does that hurt the Nets to the extent where they are no longer the favorite team in the NBA to win the championship? Because in my opinion, if you have when you have 3 stars, you can rest one and you have 2 on the court. All right? And you can rotate them like that. If you have 2 stars, at some point you need to stagger them. And one of them on the court by themselves is a lot more guardable than the 3 of them. And I don't think, yes, they have talent around them. They have a lot of past all-stars. They have a lot of really good role players. But their defense is so bad that usually their offense takes a lot of the slack off of that. So if they don't have that OP offense anymore, overpowered offense anymore, will that hurt their chances of bullying teams and simply outshooting them? Will they get better at defense? I don't see how. A lot of their older players are a year older again. KD hasn't been moving the same out since Achilles defensively. He's still a very good defender at the NBA level, in my opinion. I just don't think he's as good as he was before, which doesn't matter because he's a bucket and a half. But Harden, I have no idea what I don't want to talk about James Harden defense. I don't want to put those in the same standard. People say he's better. I don't know where that notion came from because he's bad. To me, James Harden's best defensive efforts come when he gets a short big in the post. That is where he is a really good short big defender.
Okay. Well, that is your opinion of the East. And we have Keelan, another Avenger, his opinion of the West. Okay, so we will see what happens. But before we go, we have to do a little thing here. I have picked 5 games. The NBA starting on the 19th of October, the day before my birthday, so it should be a really good NBA season. So we have legends are born in October, Tehran.
No,
So-
they're not. No, they're
So
not.
there's about
So I have picked five
Oh.
games. So let's go through them, and you just tell me who you pick to win the game. So the first game is Brooklyn at Milwaukee.
As they
Brooklyn at
are?
Milwaukee.
oh my bad.
But Milwaukee, I'm gonna go Milwaukee.
Milwaukee for
I'm gonna
Keelan.
go Milwaukee.
And I would expect that Tehran will go for Brooklyn because he said that Brooklyn is the best team in the NBA. Yeah?
No, I think the three-headed monster Brooklyn is the best team in the NBA.
Okay.
Honestly,
So who do you pick?
I have to go with no Kyrie and all they could just sit down on James Harden. I want that basketball I want to watch, and then the rest of the team can worry try the best at so I don't get it. I'm gonna go Milwaukee as well.
Milwaukee. So Keelan going Milwaukee and Tehran going Milwaukee. I will go for Milwaukee too.
Hey, none of us.
Simply because everybody else is going for Milwaukee. So the next game is Boston at New York. This should be interesting.
Boston at New York.
Boston at New York.
Oh, you going me first?
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, but even though I am a Miami Heat fan, that light skin curly hair boy, to me, he's the most lethal man in the NBA. Jason Tatum, I'm going Celtics all day, every day.
Okay. All right. So Tehran going for Boston. What about you, Mr. Keelan, second Avenger?
You know, I really like Jason Tatum is from Duke, and I'm a Duke fan. So naturally, I would pick Celtics. But I got go against her on this one. I'm gonna go with the Knicks.
Okay.
This
so
one off. I think Kemba out for revenge. So Kemba's gonna be out for revenge.
Jason
I
Tatum
go
is a
with the
kid.
Knicks, but I just feel the Boston still trying to get their stuff sorted out, so I go with the Knicks.
Yeah.
This is gonna teach y'all to never go against.
On Thursday, though, we have LA and GSW. Golden State Warriors and LA. LA at Golden State Warriors. I will go first. I'm picking LA.
I wonder who you picking. Well, why? Wow, I'm not. Wow, I'm so surprised. You picked your team.
Who you going with there, Keelan?
Honestly, I actually think Lakers might get that though.
Okay, so Lakers. So Keelan with Lakers as well. And what about you, Mr. Tehran? First
This is a lonely island. This is good. This is gonna be a lonely island. I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna go with GSW. I think the Warriors take that one.
Okay. So on Friday, San Antonio versus Denver.
Now I can tell you something, right? I don't care if it's San Antonio against the 1992 Dream Team. I'm picking San Antonio. Even if I have to lose all game, I am not going against my team.
San Antonio.
I don't care. I'm going with San Antonio.
We will speak to two sons about that. Anyway,
I will go with San Antonio.
And Tehran, I expect you going for Denver because I mean, like, there's looking so great.
Come.
So me, myself, and Tehran going for Denver. And then on Saturday, the final game of the 5 that we put, Phoenix at Portland. Now this one should be interesting. Phoenix at Portland.
Got me first.
That's a tough thought, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right, so just toss up a bit one.
Both backcourts are pretty tough. I'm gonna have to say.
So Keelan said he goes to Phoenix. What about you, Tehran?
Fun fact: next to Jason Tatum, CJ McCollum is my favorite player. The next favorite player. So I'm gonna go with Portland.
Portland. I also go with Portland. Although I would not like to pick against Patrick, James Jones, but I will go with Portland as well for this first game. So those are the 5 games. We've seen who picked who, and on the next episode of Court in Session, we will see who did what and who didn't do what. And I want to thank the 2 Avengers, Keelan Phillips and Tehran King, for having the tenacity and temerity to turn up
Ooh,
and
big words.
actually give their opinions.
Paperwork.
So right now, the court in session is adjourned.